This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
This is literally from the most visited, mesugal, powerful places of any Kever in the entire world. I'll read to you the Lashon of the Sefer Malchu Rabbanon. Kama nisim nasim lemishtakchem al kivroi hafla v'fela. How many countless miracles have occurred for those who prayed at this location? Ein hapeh yecholim lesaper ma'at mehama'at ve'echad minei elef ani magid. We can't even begin to say and recount all the miracles that took place. One very famous miracle we'll talk about, the miracle of the figs. So the Rabbi Amram ben Diwan, the family came from Morocco, from the city of Diwan. They went to Yerushalayim. He was born in Yerushalayim. He learned in the yeshiva Neve Shalom. Then he learned in the yeshiva in Chevron. He was made a shadar, a shlucha derachmana, shlucha derabanan, where he was sent to Morocco to collect money. There was a famine in Chevron, and he was sent here to be able to supply sustenance for the residents of Chevron. Why him? He was a master darshan. He dazzled audiences with his speaking. But when he came to Morocco, more than his drashas, his ability to give brachos, and people saw how it was niskayim. People saw how he was poel yeshuas, like it says over here. Now this is not the matseva, but it says, especially with akaros, chaylim, he was very proficient in his brachos and in being poel yeshuas. So he came to Ouazzane. He came to this city. But then after 10 years, he went back to Chevron. He goes to Chevron, he has a son, Chaim. Chaim is very, very ill. He doesn't know what to do. He loves his son so much. So he wants to daven at the Ma'aras HaMachpelah, the Pesach of Gan Eden. But the Turks ruled Chevron at that time, and no Jew was allowed in the Ma'aras HaMachpelah. So his only choice was he dressed up like a Muslim, and he snuck into the Ma'aras HaMachpelah, and he was mispalel by Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, by the Imais, and he wanted his son to be healed, but his primary kavanah was to expedite the Geula. On his way out, somebody gives him a look, and they say this is not a regular Muslim. They recognize him. They recognize this was Amram ben Diwan. But where does he run? The Turks ruled over the entire Middle East. The only place he could escape to is Morocco. So he goes through Egypt, through Tunisia, and he makes his way to Morocco. Now, as mentioned, his son Chaim was very, very ill. And at this time, Rabbi Amram ben Diwan was 70 years old. And he didn't know what to do, and he decided that he's going to give up his soul in exchange for the life of his son. So in this very location, outside of the city of Ouazzane, he was walking around, and he said he's now going to return his soul back to Shamayim so that his son could live. And he was moiser nefesh for his son, but not before he marked the place where he wanted to be buried. He said he wanted to be buried under this ancient olive tree, and that's exactly where he was buried. Now there's a question, what day was he niftar? On this plaque, he said he didn't want a matseva, so there's no matseva, he just wanted a pile of stones, like who? Who else? Pinchas ben Yair, very good Avi. Pinchas ben Yair, he had a pile of stones. On this plaque, it says, Shenisbakesh Yoim Tes Vav Av, that he passed away on Tu B'Av. That's not accurate. Rav Chaviv Tolidano, who is a ben doiroi of Rav Amram ben Diwan, said he was nifter on Tisha B'Av. Not only Tisha B'Av, Leil Shabbos, Tisha B'Av, Shechaliyos b'Shabbos, Friday night. Could be, we know that when Tisha B'Av comes out on Shabbos, there's a way to be Madcha Tisha B'Av, so it could be his kavanah was like the kavanah of Rabbi, Bikesh Lakor Tisha B'Av, and to bring the Geula. So in all probability, he was nifter on Tisha B'Av, but they waited 7 days until Tu B'Av to be able to celebrate his Hilula. Now, the primary Hilula for Rav Amram ben Diwan is celebrated on Lag BaOmer, because since he was nifter on Tisha B'Av, and you can't celebrate on Tisha B'Av, so it's celebrated on Lag BaOmer. Others celebrated on Tu B'Av. Still others come here before Rosh Hashanah. Now, we mentioned in the shul that we have one Dvar Torah that is preserved from Amram ben Diwan, cited by the Chida in the Sefer Tzavarei Shalal on the Haftarahs. He quotes this Dvar Torah, Mideshen Eden. Eden, I believe, is the Rashi Tevis for Amram Diwan. Mideshen, I'll let you think it's one of the imponderables of the trip. We're going to have imponderables on the trip. So one imponderable, what's Mideshen? It says like this: when the Jewish people are doing the will of God, we're called Ami, my people. When the Jewish people are not doing the will of God, then we're called the people of the Navi, Moshe's people, the Navi's people. When we serve the Egel, Hashem told Moshe, Lech reid kishiches amacha. So now the Navi comes to the Jewish people and he says, Nachamu, Nachamu, Ami, console, console, my people. So now the question the Yidden have are, what does the Navi mean? Does the Navi mean we're Hashem's people? Or does the Navi mean now we're not doing the will of Hashem, we're the Navi's people? So the Navi clarifies, says Rav Amram ben Diwan, Yoimar Elokeichem, your God says, Ami, your God says that I am, that you are my people. So there are hundreds and hundreds of nisim. Rav Nassim Weldler sent me the Sefer. And all the learning today should be Le'ilei Nishmas. Michal ben Tzvi, Nassim's grandfather. This is Sefer is called El Mayan Ha'eden. Of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of nisim and neflais that happened to people who were mishtateach on this kever. One well-known miracle is when his son Chaim was sick. He was revived, and the son says to the father, please, I need figs. So the father sends a shliach to the market. Please get me te'enim. The shliach said, Rabbi, there are no te'enim here in Morocco. You can't get a ripe te'ena here in this season. Go. So he's walking down the street. Somebody taps him on the shoulder and says, would you like to buy te'enim? So he thought he was joking. He thought he must have overheard Rav Amram tell him to buy te'enim, so he probably has some fake te'enim in his pocket. He said, yeah, let me see the te'enim. So he whips out 5 luscious, fresh te'enim, and he brings it to the shliach, and the shliach brings it to Rav Amram, and Rav Amram says, of course, they're a Migan Eden. So maybe there's some connection between Ha'eden, Mideshen Ha'eden, and Rav Amram ben Diwan. I don't know, maybe he had a special in Gan Eden. But for many, many centuries, this is one of the most mesugal kvarim b'chol ha'olam kulai. So we add a special tefillah that b'makom zeh, all of our tefillah should be neskabel b'rachamim u'v'ratzain.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.